What's up again there, guys? Brian here at 3TR. Welcome to episode 309 of my weekly Q&A show, The People's Questions. We got a pretty big episode with, I believe, maybe one or two newbies, but I don't really see too many questions that were out of the ordinary that we usually get on this show. So, starting off real simple with the first question coming from Santiago Scarpino, and you want to know, which is my favorite Angry Joe video? I think my favorite one that he's done is probably one where he kind of freaks out that his copy of Arkham Knight keeps crashing. I mean that's honestly why I don't even play PC games. I've hardly ever had a game on a console crash on me. That happens very, very rarely. So to see him go through that many crashes, I thought it was just absolutely hilarious. Next question comes from the Paper Knight. You want to know, if I ever considered doing another Magic duel, how hard would it be to balance it? Would I put certain elements in the way that would trump certain others, or would I ban silence from the end, from the beginning to end, or for the end just quickly? I mean, there's certain characters I probably could do another Magic duel, because I don't know. I personally did have some fun doing Adea versus Lulu. I would to balance it, you have to take out anything that would end the fight very, very quickly. Unless someone can have a powerful spell, but the opponent has to have something that can at least contend with that. Even if it's not quite as powerful, it must have, at least in terms of usativeness, it has to at least match what the opponent can do. I mean, I'll definitely take out spells that can end the fight immediately, like something like silence and stuff like that. But that's really the most I do in terms of balancing. Next question comes from the Immortal Super Being. You want to know, what was my reaction to facing Sephiroth in Kingdom Hearts 1? Well, I actually do remember my thoughts when I was a kid playing the first Kingdom Hearts facing Sephiroth. I was saying to myself, wow, this dude is a lot harder in this game than he ever was in Final Fantasy VII, and I stick to that statement. Next two questions come from the Hunter Bros, and you wanted the first question was, what is my favorite E-rated game? And I just spoke about this. I would have to say my favorite E-rated game is probably Kingdom Hearts 1. Even though I think that technically 2 is an overall better game, I just think that is a definitive E game in terms of the concept, setting, and feeling. That is a perfect representation of how you handle an E-rated game and make it entertaining for even adults. And the second question is, why did I switch Cloud to Sephiroth in my season finale? I switched Cloud out for Sephiroth because I had already planned to use Cloud and Squall for my season premiere for season 4. So it didn't make much sense to use Cloud to put him up against Dante for the season finale for 3, just to use him back to back for season 4 against Squall. So at the last minute, I just said, listen, okay, Sephiroth's a pretty popular person. He'd already taken on Virgil. We can have a continuation from last season's finale. So we'll switch Cloud out. We'll put Sephiroth in. We'll put him up against Dante. We'll see what happens. Next question comes from Silver Shadow 2099. You want to know, what is my top 5 swords in Final Fantasy franchise? I'm not going to put them in any particular order, but I'll do this. That I like, not personal use, but I like. Buster Sword, Fusion Sword, Brotherhood Sword, Apocalypse Sword, and I'm gonna have to go with the Lionheart. Those would be the 5 that I like the most. Next question comes from, I believe, the first possibly only newbie of the episode, going by the name of Richard. I can't say your last name, so I'll just leave your name up there. And you have a question that kind of follows up with the last question, and you want to know, if I could pick one weapon in the entire Final Fantasy franchise as my definitive personal weapon, what would it be? I'm hesitant to say this because a lot of people are going to freak the hell out, but to be fair, because even when I hate something, loathe it, think it is an absolute abomination, I won't deny if there are some things in it that I think would be better used in other games. And if there is one weapon that I would pick, it would be Lightning's Gunblade. I know, some of you guys are shocked. it doesn't change how I feel about the character. I still hate her. I still think she's the reason the franchise was brought to its knees. I think the Final Fantasy 13 trilogy nearly brought it into the franchise until 15 brought it back. But I'm not going to lie by saying that as a practical weapon, to have a weapon that can switch from being an up-close sword to being a long-distance gun is a very, very effective weapon. It makes it very, very versatile, and it gives me a lot of combative options. So despite how much I feel about it, I wouldn't deny that, despite the fact it's not my favorite weapon. But if I could pick a weapon as my practical weapon, just in a practical use, that would be the weapon I would pick. The next question comes from Cassidy J. Williams, and you want to know, what are my thoughts on Roland Emmerich movies? Well, that man likes to blow shit up and destroy all types of cities, perhaps even more so than Michael Bay, but I don't know, I would say some of his older films are really, really good. Next question comes from Virgil, the son of Sparta. You want to know, if I could save one or two Resident Evil characters from dying, who would those characters be? Leon and Ada. Not much of a question. Leon and Ada, obviously. Next question comes from the Black Struggle. You want to know, what game developer do I think should take over the Star Wars licensing? Anybody but EA. I don't care at this point who it is. EA has just proven that they're in it for the money. I so wish LucasArts was still around. They made some really, really great games, and it's just a shame that Disney shut them down, because they had a lot of concepts of games that I would have loved to have played now, but EA just is proving that they just don't have any respect for the licensing. So give it to somebody else. The next question comes from Rain932. You want to know, in the Kingdom Hearts series, do I have a favorite Keyblade, and if so, which one? Yes, I do. My favorite Keyblade is the original Kingdom Keyblade, which I happen to have a replica up in my room. I gotta go with the classic. The first is always the best one, in my opinion. Each one seems to be focused towards a specific world, but the Kingdom Keyblade is universal. Anyone can use it, and it looks good with them. Next question comes from Diadrive CJ. You want to know, if I ever somehow came across a Gundam, an orbital frame, or any such mech get-in situation, would I have to pilot? Would I? Basically, you're asking me if I was in a situation where there was a gigantic mech and something was happening and there was no one else to do anything, would I step up and try to pilot this thing? The answer is yes. I have this sort of mentality when it comes to really bad situations, that if you're in a position to do something, you have the responsibility to act. And I think that's the same way in life. If you're in a position to save someone's life, then you have the responsibility to take an action. I don't want to hear this excuse of, I don't want to risk my life. I have a family. I don't want to do this. It's no. If you are in a position and there's nobody else around, if there's someone else's job and they arrive, that's fine. But if there's no one else around, then it's up to you. You have to, even if you're risking everything. And I would do that in that situation. Even if the result was I ended up dying and I ended up failing, but I wouldn't just stand around and do nothing. You have to do something. Next question comes from McKinney Kusum, cool name. You want to know, do I prefer having a video game protagonist be muted and only be implanted with their own sentence of a simple character, or a simple lead developer or screenwriter in form of sense personalities? I'd probably have to go with the first one. Just because your protagonist isn't muted doesn't mean that they can't be effective. I've seen a few movies where the character is muted and they were still able to tell a really good story around them. Just body language is a good way to express oneself. So yeah, I'll pick the first one. Next question comes from Lucerna. You want to know, who is my favorite Metal Gear Solid character? Big Boss, hands down. I did a whole video talking about that. And the last question of the episode comes from Black Lady. You want to know, is there any foods that I thought I would hate but ended up liking? Not that I can think of. I usually have a good sense of taste, although I will admit I did try out a number of odd foods while I was in Taiwan last year. But I didn't pick anything I didn't think I was gonna like. Just from the smell of it, seemed to be good, and everything I tasted over there that I had never tasted here in the States before, it all ended up being good. Usually I can tell I'm gonna like something by how it smells. I don't know, I just have this ability to know that by how something smells, it's gonna affect my taste buds. So if I smell it and it smells good, chances are I'm going to enjoy it. And with that, those are all the questions that you guys sent in for this episode. I'd like to thank all of you guys for making this episode possible. If you guys could, please press one of the links in the description down below so you can friend me on Facebook, follow me on Twitter, and keep in contact with me in my future videos. And if you guys have any more questions you would like me to answer in next week's episode, be sure to type them in the comments down below, but make sure you get them in to me before next Wednesday before I start filming the next episode. And like always, thank you guys for watching. You're awesome, and I'll see you next time.